Oh, I should look at the camera when I talk to do this. Why, hi there, I'm Ron Juckett, and today on Uncle Ron's Blerbs, I'm going to talk about, answer one of the questions I get most sometimes in emails and other things is, Ron, what do you think of Game X? Or Ron, what game would you recommend for this? And the generic answer I give is this. I don't necessarily recommend games because what I might find to be not my cup of tea, you might love. And vice versa, what you think, why would you play this? I go, but it's so good. Instead, I'll tell you what I'll look for in a game. Doing digital dice as I do with Dave Gardner, we've had the chance to sample a lot of games, and most of them are very good. This truly is. I said this right from the start when I started this channel. This is the golden age of sports sim and replay games. You can play, thanks to Roberto Schiavini, you can play gymnastics. I mean, whatever it is your little heart desires to play, if you want to do Olympic dressage, you can do that. If you want to replay the 2020 baseball season, you can do that. And you can do pretty much everything in between. There's sumo wrestling games. I haven't tried that one. I believe there's drag racing game. Whatever it is you want to play, you can play it. And so, here's what I look for. I try to find something that I'm at least a little bit familiar with. It doesn't really do me, I can. Well, let me restart with that. Something that I'm familiar with. And so when I try a new game for the first time, I want to know if, in my view, it kind of gives you the flow and the feel of the event I'm trying to replicate. One of the first Roberto Schiavini games I did was track and field game and sprint races, and I forget which. I think it's Central Athletics, which I don't believe is in print anymore. And the first race I did was the 1984 men's 100 meters in Los Angeles. And I ran the race, and I looked up the results after the race was over to see what happened in real life, and the exact time for the race was run. It was a 9:93, a 10, something like whatever it was. Carl Lewis didn't win the race, but the winning time was exact, and the third place was like a hundredth of a second off. Like, oh, that's pretty good. He's got it down. And so I bought more and more of that style games. Some sports I'm not as versed at. I was asked the other day, what did I think of classic soccer? I've done a couple of those games on the channel. And soccer is something that I enjoy, but I'm certainly not an expert at in any way, shape, or form. But in the two games that I've done so far was the Spain-Swiss opener for World Cup 2010, and then the USA-England opener, when they played each other in the 2010 World Cup. And England played like England. They came out flat. They had their chances and couldn't do anything with them. They played, like I said, like day-old, overnight on the counter ginger ale. And that's what you'd expect England to do. When you go through and play, or let's say you take an older hockey team and did 75, 76 in Action PC Hockey a few versions ago, and looking up stuff, seeing how it was played, and then playing the games, you kind of got the sense of how that 75, 76 Islander team did. And you get to know what games to look forward to and what games you don't look forward to, and all that. And so that's, I guess, for me, is if they have a demo or a sample or whatever, try it out. And just for me, it's how does it feel? Does it match the experience that I felt watching a certain event? I have enough 1978 baseball seasons and enough sports I could play that season 20 times. How does that feel? When I play a baseball game from that era, no matter the engine, does it feel like I'm playing that sort a game, a plausible game? Will my ace pitchers generally go into the eighth a complete game? Will my fifth starters be terrible? Can I safely bring in my firemen in the seventh, eighth inning? Will the Red Sox leave 8,000 runners on? Yes. Yes, they will. Does a football game replicate the different eras of football? When I play a mid-70s football game, am I going to be bored to tears because it's 3 yards and a cloud of AstroTurf? If I ever do get a wishbone again, it's not to generate a wishbone offense. On the other hand, if I play an 80s style football game, will I be able to replicate what San Francisco did? Can I get the 85 Bears to be that good on defense? Does it feel like I'm sitting there at 13, 14, 15 years old and watching and calling the game on television and driving my father nuts? Yes. Yes. So those are the things that I think you're looking for. Yes, price is a factor for a lot of things. Some games give you bulk seasons, and others, I don't want to say nickel and dime you, but you're not going to go out and get for $50 100 seasons of a particular game. So you got to kind of be choosy with that. But some games are worth it. Other games are not. And I'm not going to say which games are not worth it. But a lot of, let's just say there is no such thing as the perfect game. Every game has a flaw. And if you play it enough, you're going to find those flaws. It's just like any relationship or any friendship. There's going to be something that other person does that drives you absolutely insane. But is there enough redeeming qualities to make you keep playing it? Yes. If the games you go over and over and over again with, yeah, you can overlook the flaws. But as far as trying it out, again, pick an era that you're really familiar with or want to get to know. Usually for a game, one of the big four sports, it's one that you're familiar with. So you try out the game. Does the game engine in your mind, able to create that image in your head of playing from that era? Can you get, if you're a fan of the Philadelphia Flyers, do you get enough intimidation and penalty minutes for that? If you are a Wayne Gretzky fan, can he create and score on the go? Can Michael Jordan get your 35, 40 points a game? Can the Bulls win without a center? Can Larry Bird create enough for the Celtics that the Celtics can win a lot and Bird can get close to triple doubles? Whatever it is, that, use your best perception of what you think that era was or what your memory is, and can that game engine replicate your memories or bring you close to that comfort place? Then you've got, I think, a good game. For games such as golf, tennis, boxing, where you don't really have, let's say, a 1977 Muhammad Ali card or a 1978 Muhammad Ali card and a 1978 Leon Spinks card, and so you go to use them in a fight, and 99 times out of 100 in an all-time great set, Ali's going to beat Spinks. But Spinks beat Ali that first time in 78, and some of us don't really want to talk about that. So for games that kind of go into the what-if scenarios, such as all-time great leagues or all-time great golf tournaments, it's fun to see how old Tom Morris and Tiger Woods would normalize clubs can compare against each other. It's just fun. There are specific golf seasons. There's a couple golf season games that have golf seasons out there, but again, because weather conditions and course conditions lay so heavily onto how a golf game works, it would be almost impossible to replicate. Okay, Don January won the 1967 Dean Martin Jack Daniels Open at the Bourbon Club in Western Kentucky, okay? He shot, 68 4 straight days and drank a bottle of bourbon on the back nine. Okay, I'm making all that up. That didn't really happen. It would almost be impossible for a game to get that right because it might have rained those 4 days. And when you play, you might have baked-in greens. And so 68 might be an incredibly hard score to get. Whatever it is. But does it feel like the golfer playing the game? Are you getting enjoyment from that? You can replicate Chris Everett and Martina Navratilova a lot using tennis games. But again, it's hard to get, Chrissy's exact stats from the 85 U.S. Open to play Martina and her exact stats from the 85 U.S. Open. You can do it kind of in a quick game, but as far as a shot-by-shot game, that's not a complaint against any of the games. Okay? Those are hard to do. That's kind of a what if, and hey, if you're into what if, and for golf and tennis, I certainly am, it's all about, again, creating storylines in your mind. What would Serena Williams do against Steffi Graf? What would Monica Seles do against Naomi Osaka? Those sort of things. And a lot of those games work. And again, if you can create a good story in your head, you got yourself a winner. If you're finding flaws in the game engine the second time you're playing it, gosh, I hope I didn't spend a lot of money doing that. It happens. It happens. So that sort of thing. So don't be afraid to try out things. Just dip your toe in the water. A lot of game companies, the smaller ones, will just send you sample rules, couple teams. Maybe it's $5. Hopefully they're of an era that you do. Sometimes it's recent Stanley Cup winners or World Series teams or what have you. Try out the engine. Not everything, as I said, not everything is going to meet your expectations. Sometimes costs can be a real big factor. This would be a good game at X price point. The person that created a game is selling it for Y price point. I'll pay $20 for something that someone else is charging $40 for. I don't think it's a $40 game. Trust your instincts. I guess that's the best thing. As I said, does it play well in your head? Does it match the expectation? When you go back and play the Cowboys and the 49ers from the 81 NFC Championship game, does it feel like the Cowboys and the 49ers from the 81 championship game? It doesn't necessarily mean that San Francisco is going to win all the time, but, is it plausible? Does it bring you back to the happier time? Or when you look at the numbers going, it replicates the numbers just fine. Because I tend to do this and spend a lot of money on games, I'm not as concerned about how much things cost, but I don't want to spend $100 for a base game and one season or one set of cards or what have you. Especially if it's your favorite sport. I'm not a huge boxing fan. I do like some boxing games, and of course, there's always the telltales. Can you replicate, Ali, the trilogy of Ali and Frazier, Holmes and Hagler? But on the other hand, what about Ali and Lewis? Does it paint as I said, does it paint a picture in your mind of how you think the fight was going to go? Or are you bogged down in trying to figure out whether tab A goes into slot B and that? Are the directions clear enough for you? So I think that, for me, that's what I would look for. And again, trust your instincts. See how it plays. Is it easy to figure out? I mean, I might think that Game A is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you might look at Game A going, I can't make heads or tails of this. How do you like it? And I can sit there and try to explain how Game A works. But if you're frustrated from the whole experience of trying to make the game work, then it doesn't matter, because the directions aren't clear, where to press the buttons in the computer aren't clear. You're just not going to enjoy the experience. And hey, that's on the designer. That's not on you. That's on the designer to make that stuff really clear. So I guess in conclusion for this, just A, trust your instincts. B, what is your wallet telling you? C, take a look at some of the quick play games. You can get the full experience. You don't want all the hassle of going through and playing Braves, Padres, 87, next, America's team, TBS. No, unless you want to see Skip Carrigan. And we'll get to the 47th playing of Casablanca right after Rafi Ramirez hits into the 6-4-3. 6-4-3. Warm it up. Humphrey Bogart's next on TBS, and we didn't colorize that movie. So yeah, you are going to be the best judge for you on what games work and what games don't work. If it doesn't work for you the second or third time, you might eventually figure it out, but it's just going to sit there in your closet until you go, I can't believe I bought Battle of the Network Stars 1994 version. Really? They brought back Elf for this? I hope he eats a cat. No, I don't. But, I mean, obviously, don't do that for every game. But yeah, I mean, if you just can't figure it out, or if it's too much of a chore, it's obviously not the game for you. And so, figure it out. And so, yeah. So that's what I would do. Try out a sample, see if they'll send you, look, I'm not sure about this game. Can you at least send me the rules? If I can figure out how the rules go without too many questions, I might like the game, or send me 2 teams. And a lot of companies will do that. Or in the Action PC case, it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. The ASG Richard Hanna line of games, they're full demos. You can see if you like it or not. Might not have all the bells and whistles you want, but you can at least see. So that's what I would do, because what I like, you may not. And so that's why I really don't say specific games. The games I like most, you're going to see on the channel. Or you're going to hear me talk about with Dave on Digital to Dice. It doesn't mean that the ones I don't play, I don't necessarily like, you can only play so many different games. Hopefully that will answer some of your questions. And so, thank you so much. I'm Ron Juckett. We'll talk to you the next time.